Warm welcome to this webinar, Don't Buy a Blind, How to Select the Right CFO Office Technology, with Staria and me, Fredrik Malmsten.
Ville Partanen.
And we are extremely grateful to discuss this together today. We have an interesting agenda. We will talk about data vision and roadmap, how to select the right tools. We'll talk about financial reporting and planning, building a data-driven culture, some common pitfalls, and also summary. But before doing that, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Fredrik. So my name is Ville Partanen. I'm working as a senior advisor in digital transformations here at Staria. So I'm basically helping the customers with their transformation journeys. So how they are choosing and designing the solutions that they are investing in, and then how they are implementing their solutions. So I do have a background in consultancy, in project and program management, and that's what I'm doing. I'm sponsoring our implementation here at Staria.
Perfect. And shortly about me, I'm Fredrik Malmsten. I work as a business development manager, mainly focusing on the Norwegian and Swedish market. Just shortly about Staria. So we are a finance organization. We have about 600 employees, most of them working in the Nordics. So we have our headquarters here in Helsinki, where we are today. We also have offices in Stockholm and Oslo and some other cities as well in the Nordics, but also, for instance, in Prague and other European countries. We have three things we do at Staria. We are a partner for Oracle NetSuite. We're actually the most awarded partner for NetSuite in EMEA. We also do global accounting and payroll services. We do that in 50 countries. We also have a BI and planning solution as well, which is called Naviloc. And we will go more into ERP and BI and planning today, but not so specifically about our solutions, but more on an overall level. And the focus today will also be more on growth companies, so companies that are growing and hopefully would also like to scale to other countries. So one of the first stages for a growth company, because today we will focus mostly on growth companies and their roadmap. The first step is to basically think, where would you like to go? And I have a first question here for you, Ville. Why do disconnected systems lead to poor adaptation and wasted investments?
You know, Fredrik, there's of course many different reasons for that. But I think that the many companies when they are starting the investments on the different kind of solutions, they are making after all good decisions. That's what I need to say. But of course there is a pitfalls. You can find yourself and your company in situation that you have invested in many different solutions. And if we're taking you as an example, you are working with sales, many growth companies, and if I'm taking a bit of a study as an example, we are a professional service company providing services for our customers. So if you're having a separate CRM system, separate time tracking system, you're probably running your projects in different platform. So you're implementing niche system for every purpose. So it could lead you and your company in a situation where you are having a disconnected system. And I'm underlining that word. Yeah.
And silos as well.
And silos, of course. So if you're having multiple solutions and those are not integrated well, so it means that your data it's fragmented. So your project management solution could tell you a KPIs about the projects, but you can't link that information with the finance data. So that's one very concrete example. So that's one key takeaway from this. But what I see that companies can actually or what's my advice for the companies is that you should, when you're starting to do those investments, you should actually think that what are the business goals that you have. So basically, planning and doing the design is very important for the companies. So you understand that what are the capabilities that you need to have in place, and how you can, what's the business need coming from there, right. And then making the actual decision that what are the solutions that serve those purposes. So that's my key takeaway for companies.
Right. I mean, it's interesting because it's not just about, okay, I will go and buy a tool. It's about, okay, where does my business, where do we want to go as a business? And then from there, or kind of like, if I say, Ville, you will get a new pair of shoes. It's okay, what kind of shoes? Where will you use it for? Well, if you will play football with a pair of shoes, maybe you shouldn't buy sneakers if you will play. Or, I mean, so in that sense, kind of like you look at what's the end goal. It's not just we will buy a system, but okay. Yeah. What will you use it for, and how will it help your business go forward? In that sense.
Yeah.
And there are various ways to go along. If you think about a CFO, sometimes if you're in a growth stage, you might decide to take a big ERP and grow with that. But sometimes you maybe want to start a bit smaller to maybe have a financial tech stack that you can build upon, and then a few years after that, maybe go for a big ERP. What do you say there, Ville? Like, how should you do this? How do you select tools that you don't only use today, but also that can be good for your company in the future?
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic, because I've been helping with many customers and many companies to choose the correct technology. So I think in the past there were many companies. They started very technical manners, or they basically started a technical requirements gathering. So making a long Excel sheet with too many rows, and none of the suppliers were able to really give the good answers on those requirements. So I think that's a bit of a old world. So the modern way to actually to do the tendering is to concentrate on your business needs. So what are the business needs on sales? What is the business needs on your operative business? So it's coming from there, and you should have business owners in place. So concentrate on that, so that you're having the ownership from the business coming in play when doing the investment and making the decision of the technology. So that's one very important thing to keep in mind when starting the journey.
Right. And as we look at this picture, there are many things to be in place. If it's finance and ERP reporting, we have the cash flow forecasting. There are several parts there. My first question is, what do you see? Like, when should you start with a big ERP, or should you start with a data warehouse, financial reporting and planning, or is there even a right answer to that?
And here comes the bus. I think it's not that easy to answer what's the correct way to do it. Of course, it's dependent on the situation of the company. So some of the companies, if they are already doing business in multiple countries and they are running their operations, let's say that there is, for example, local accounting software in place. So and you're happy with them, and then it's just gathering the information and doing the consolidation somewhere. Then you can start with the data warehouse and setting up the BI and analytics. That's of course something to consider. But if you're thinking about the moving on to ERPs, I think you with the modern platforms that you can choose from the market, you can start with the MVP approach. That's one way to do it. So start with the core finance and expand that solutions landscape when you're ready for that.
Right.
And start small and expand your architecture, and keep in mind that these kind of platforms, those are not just a platform for finance and some other modules. Those are development platforms, so you can really build on top of those platforms, starting with finance and moving on.
Right.
Yeah.
And we will soon go more into BI and planning. But another thing that I would like to ask Ville about, given his expertise, is that you come in as a CFO, you have all these goals and you want to make an impact directly. You're looking at all these different things. I mean, there are tons of different ERP solutions, tons of different BI and planning solutions. When it comes to partner up, like what's your ideas regarding that? Like, what's the benefit of having a partner that a CFO can actually ask for advice for, and that can guide them along the way?
Yeah. I think partnering with the solution provider is always a good decision companies to make. I think finding a partner who can really support your business needs is important. So if you're a growth company, it's easy to say that select a partner who have been working with growth companies, because they know the things that other companies have already done when they've been going outside the nation borders,
right.
so to say. So they know the localizations, they know the business needs and regulations when moving on and expanding your business. So that's one very important thing to think. So
right.
So yeah.
So I mean, because it is a lot of work to think about, because there are various solutions and they all solve different needs. So I think as well, like we need to be quite thorough there and as well, because it can be quite expensive if you start with an ERP or a platform that is not meeting the needs of your company. It can be quite expensive and take a lot of time if you notice after a few months that, oh man, this isn't actually something for us.
Yeah. And something worth of mentioning here is that the modern ERP platforms, they're having a own vertical solutions. Let's say for the manufacturing, for example, or software and services, you're having your own verticals, and the solution partners who are doing the implementations, they do have their own developments and things that they have already developed on top of the platform. So keep in mind that you're searching enough for references, reference customers, and reference calls are always good to have, so that you can get the first-hand information how the implementation went and how happy they've been with the solution. Because when you're moving on with the solution, you need to do and the implementation itself, you need to make a decisions whether I'm using, for example, consolidation or some other features from the ERP, or should I get some extensions. Right. There is for example, applications like you're having in your phone. It's same game with these platforms. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, and also something that comes into this one. Let's say that, okay, now you have your ERP in place. Still, ERPs are not BI tools. They don't usually have the good forecasting and those capabilities. So in many times, companies would choose an ERP, but also they will have something along the way. But here's also a question for you, Ville, because Excel is, of course, it's a loved tool. So many finance professionals love it. They don't want to get rid of it. But when is the right time to go from Excel to maybe a BI and planning tool? And what do you see are the most beneficial parts with a solution like that?
Yeah. Of course, sharing data with Excel is always one security risk. So when your company is growing, at some point there is a phase when you're thinking that I'm doing too much in Excel. Every now and then those are breaking down and you're finding out that the information is not correct there. And of course, I need to mention again the security risk. It's there. So even the smallest companies nowadays can afford the BI tools. So that is good to keep in mind once again. So that's something. It's dependent on the situation, you know, and if you're having many companies and you're feeling difficulties to setting up those figures in Excel, there is a better solutions, even though that you are very advanced with Excel and you can use it without mouse. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
But also, I think here, you know, going into one difficulty is as well that I would like to ask you about is that some tools, it might be quite difficult, you know, building your own dashboards and KPIs. For instance, myself, I worked for many years in a Swedish IT project, and every time we wanted to do some little change in Tableau, we needed to hire a consultant, and we paid like 200 euros an hour. So how do you see it there? Like, because in many times it's the IT building the dashboards and KPIs for finance. And they don't always. How do you see, like, what's a good way to handle that?
Yeah. That's the problem that I'm seeing when I'm working with my customers even today. So some of the BI solutions are needing the consultant work, and it's something that you can't basically change any of the KPIs like you mentioned, or the reports or the insights that they are giving, and then it means that you need consultant to make those changes. But the most advanced solutions are working that way, so that you as an end user, you can make difference there. So you can build your own reports and working with the solution. So you doesn't need to always call that very expensive consultant,
right?
and have that support there.
So I guess the onboarding then is quite important, or even I guess sometimes even hiring somebody internally that have expertise that can also sometimes be cheaper than having an external consultant, right?
It is, yeah, exactly. But one thing that I would like to mention is that many companies are having hard time to you know make the decision that should they actually invest in the BI tool or more advanced analytics and planning and forecasting solution, and even though they are having the ERP solution in place. So my advice for many companies is that let's try to use ERPs if that's possible, and especially if you're ending your implementation, you can see that what are the reporting and analytics capabilities there, and then it's you know, you called your cards on a poker terms, using poker terms. So if you feel that the native ERP reporting and analytics is not enough for you, then it's good decision to move on the some other tools, so more advanced analytics and so on.
Yeah, and if you think about it this way, I mean, now we kind of go into perspective that let's say that you have an ERP in place. There's still some things that you would like to have in place. First of all, a data warehouse, and of course, there are various solutions for that. But that is a classic thing that many companies would need. We have also some type of management reporting that you have ClickSense, you have Tableau that I just mentioned, we have Power BI, which is mainly focused on the financial reporting. So cash flow and other types of kind of more like financial reports. We also have forecasting and budget tools. We have Pigment, we have Yedax, we have Anaplan, where you do more the forecasting and planning. And the fact is that in many of these cases, you will need to have one consultant for each tool. And that can be quite expensive, given that it always, you know, you would always need something if you would like to build something, or perhaps there is something that doesn't work as you want. So that can be quite expensive as well if you need to have 3 different tools, you need to have a consultant for each one. And still, given that even though many companies have implemented tools, in many times the adoption rate is quite low, and that is something that we at Stari are working with quite a lot. We have our own tool, which is called Navilog, that basically combines a data warehouse with management reporting and forecasting. I won't go much into that today, but we were happy to discuss it more after the webinar if there's somebody having additional questions regarding that. So Ville, now we come to the point where you have the tools, you have an ERP, or you have the financial tech stack in place. And now you want to get the 15%, you want to get it higher. How do you see there? How do you build a culture of, or even the processes of having people using these tools that you implement?
Yeah, I think the approach, having the bottom-up type of approach here is the key. It's not something that executives and management is telling, or all the finance, or in the worst case, the IT who is telling that, okay, here are the KPIs. I think the data and the visibility of the data and analytics, it's for all. So let's try to, my advice here is always that try to root that kind of a culture that your all single teams, they are managed by the data. So it's data centric, that how you're running your company. So having that data in place, and not just visibility. Nowadays, users are quite advanced on all the levels on the company, so they would like to play around with the data if they have access on it. And I think access on the data is a crucial thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you use Lovable, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you built something interesting there?
Yeah, tried something.
I spoke with a CFO recently, and I was talking about BI and planning solution. He said, "Oh, call me back in 4 weeks because I'm building my own tool in Lovable. Let's see if I can scale it in the company." So I mean, it's interesting nowadays. You can actually start building some things yourself.
Yeah.
But that's another question. I mean, if you build it yourself, will it work if you're a company of 500 sharing the information? I mean, sometimes it can work, but it's also a risk of doing, maybe that person will end as well in the future. So I guess you need to be also there careful what you do. You have, of course, you need to always think about the vision you have as a company. Where would you like to go? And then from there, maybe scale, those tools.
Of course, strategy, company's strategy, that is always that is steering everything. So you need to have a KPIs and metrics to support your strategy and see where you're going. But on a nowadays, when AI and all the new capabilities are built into the solutions that we're using, it's a wise move to give the access and the possibility to make the pilot cases for the individuals that are working in the company. It's not just finance or IT,
right,
who's building these things.
And also, I mean, Ville, many times companies, they want more KPIs than just the financial KPIs using a BI tool. I mean, operational data, HR data. We have HubSpot ourselves. So I mean, doing a sales forecast, it will be very beneficial also connecting your CRM system. So it should not only be used for finance, but also for other purposes as well.
Yeah, that's well said.
And another question, because I often speak with CFOs on a daily basis, and some of them have scattered systems. They might be in several countries in Europe or in the US, and they have different systems. So when I ask them, okay, how do you handle the fast decision making, and how old is usually the data you look at? It's usually it's between 2 weeks and a month. Why is it important to to have real-time data?
Of course, that's the key thing here. You know, having the up-to-date data and the solutions that you are using. That's the only way to do it. And this is actually something that I'm working a lot when I'm working with the professional services, because you know, in those businesses, it's project type of work that they are doing, and the time trackings is in the heart of everything. So to have a good processes in place, that's one, so that you can get the data. So it's easy to say that we're using up-to-date data and fresh data, but if persons are not doing their part, it's very hard to lead the company. So my advice here always is that build the processes that support your data. That's way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're a CFO, if it's your first day, don't go and buy the first and best BI tool for Christmas gift, but you know, get the data in place, get the vision in place, and from there choose what you need to do. Something that we also discussed well, a little bit as well in the introduction to this webinar is that many projects are failing, and there are, I mean, various reasons why ERP and BI and planning projects are failing. From your experience, Ville, what do you say? What are some of the common pitfalls that you've seen?
I think this is unfortunate to say, but it's still that the business need is not steering the decisions. So basically, companies are still leaning too heavily on the technical requirements, and they are starting to they are acting like a consumers. So you know, you have faced the problem, and then you're Googling or using whatever ChatGPTs and trying to find a correct answers. So you're taking that technical requirements and then seeing some demos, and you know, you're failing. You doesn't find the correct solution for you. So I think I can't underline enough that fact that the business needs are something that should steer that what kind of solutions you're implementing and what kind of platform scenarios you're building for your companies, because you're not designing for today, you're designing for the future. That's the main message.
Right.
And then of course, you know, other topic is that the finance and IT, if they are doing this alone, I'm underlining that the business should be involved on this. So you should have a commitment from the business and of course from the management. But that's of course something that we're waiting always when we're starting the projects.
Right.
Yeah.
But also I think in that sense that something, even though we are a NetSuite partner, even the most awarded in EMEA, usually I tell CFOs that, you know, look at your business, look at your goals, and perhaps, I mean, they would need to look at 3 different tools along the way. So I think don't just steer blind. Of course, when we meet customers, if it's a good fit, of course, we would always like them to go with us. But usually I think it's good for you as a CFO to maybe have a few alternatives, not just like, okay, now I know about this specific tool, we need to go with that. Then you haven't considered some other tools, or maybe there are some other tools that better can help you to reach, you know, the goals that you have as a company. So in that sense as well, I mean, doing analysis, right, about what are some of the different solutions out there and how can it help, instead of just looking at the price.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Perfect. Now we are coming towards the end. So just wrapping up, what are some of the things that the CFO office should have in place? We have seamless integrations, we have real-time reporting, we have automation and efficiency gains, we have scalability, we have user-friendly tools that drive adoption. How many CFOs out there have this perfectly? No, that was a joke.
I hope that these are all are aligned when companies and CFOs are running their transformation journeys. But of course, the company strategy and the business needs are steering the transformation journey that companies are taking. And it could be that you need to put focus on some of these topics first, and then later on, when you're continuous developing your solution, then put focus on some other topics.
Yeah.
That's a good way to proceed with things.
Yeah, and also that there is no, right or wrong answer. Should you start with a big ERP and use that in your, let's say that you're a growing company, you're in several countries. Should you start with an ERP with all these countries, or should you start with a data warehouse, financial reporting and planning, and build that? There's no right answer there. You should do what fits your strategy. Sometimes the best thing is to take this bigger ERP. Sometimes it's better to build the processes. It's always good to build the processes, but sometimes it might be better to actually start a bit smaller, build the processes, and then after a few years, when you have that in place, it will be much easier as well going into a bigger ERP.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. We have actually, we won't have a long Q&A because we don't have any people live with us, but we have actually one question here that we have. It says, how will AI change ERPs for the end users in the near future?
Yeah, this was actually a very good question, so that's why we raised it on this recording. So how I see market, and I do have a background with SAP ecosystem and with Oracle, and I've been seeing many of the technologies, for example, ServiceNow and Salesforce, how they are building their AI competencies. What I see is that these solutions are moving on that direction, that they are helping the end user using LLM models and adding ease of use type of functionalities in these solutions. We saw a couple of months ago in Sweet World that Oracle is introducing the Ask NetSuite type of functionalities, where you can ask for a certain report, and if you don't have all the needed information in that report, you can ask that, hey, NetSuite, add this information in there, and it's actually working. So I'm very eager to see that what kind of a concrete things there is actually coming for the end user. Of course, all the AI agents and that sort of things are coming, but what are the things that these big players are really bringing into table? That's very interesting to see. I think to concentrate.
Yeah, perfect. We are super grateful for the opportunity to speak today, and thank you for everybody that have registered for this webinar. And we really hope that you enjoyed it, and hope to speak with you later. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.